Hello. Welcome to the stream today. Yes, we brought this forward a week early because, well, I'm massively ahead of where I want to be on this, so we are about ready for doing version 1.4. Let me bring you a little bit closer. Ran straight off my notepad. Okay, then, so this episode, what are we going to... Well, first up things, we should go with what our tradition is. We're going to be going over the things I added in all the mini updates. I should bring these up on here. Itch.io. Already logged in. And we can go to the dungeon cleanup. How do I go to the things again? Here we go, posts. Right, so this is just help you remember. 1.3, we added randomization. Okay, just give me a reminder of what it was I did. Okay, right then, so let's start going over some of the code. Right, the first thing that we actually looked into for the 1.3 update was that 1.3.1 was we realized that once we put in the randomization via seed, we actually realized that, how do I word this? That even though the dungeon would randomize based on your seed, and if you type that seed in again, the randomization would still try and follow the same path. Why is my table leaning backwards? One of the grippers has come off. I know where that is. I've seen it somewhere. I'll put it on later. So even though the dungeon was set to follow the set path using its algorithm of which way, left, right, up, down, whatever, it was based off the seed, your floor number, so that every floor would be different, so you weren't just getting continuously along the dungeon each time you replayed. But more importantly, it was based on the room it was in. Unfortunately, I forgot to put randomized start. I still have randomized start on it. So, dungeon controller. We now have this piece of code. It's nothing fancy, it's just takes random parts of the seed. If this is above 1, then it's allowed to... Well, if part 7 is above 1, then it adds some parts together. Wait, times it by 9. 7. Yeah, I need to be careful of that, because that could be a 0. But then again, I guess you can divide by times by 0. You just can't divide by a 0, so that's come out as 0. If it's not, then it just doesn't put the divide in. Then it just adds a bit, minuses a bit, multiplies it again, could end up being a 0. And then it adds the current floor on it. This was something I had to add towards the end, the current floor bit, because there was times where if 0.3 was a 0, then result comes out as a 0, which therefore means this would have been 0 and breaks the entire thing. And then, of course, you then got the end bit that will show our little checks where if 0, if the number ever becomes less than 0, it shouldn't, because this should deny it. But there could be opportunities where, like, say, this could all equal out to 1. This could be a 9 or a 20 or something, making it a negative number. So less likely to be a 0, but could become a negative number. Then all it does is adds a little bit more on. Well, it equals another part of the thing. Adds on another multiplication, and then adds on the floor number. So this can guarantee in the end, this is though no number can ever be negative, that this will always have at least a positive number. So it's always going to be bigger than 1. It's always going to be bigger than 0, should I say, because it's always going to have at least a 1 added on. And if it goes above 91, then it mods it down. So we can guarantee that it's always going to be above less than 90. Less than 91, so we can be on any floor but the very bottom row, because the initial room always has to head downwards. Upon fixing this, we then learned that our coding for our seed was actually wrong. Where's the seed generation? Seed generator is... It's part of the main menu. Okay, maybe it's not part of the main menu. Where's the seed generator gone? Oh, it's part setup. Is it this one, seed maker? I think it is. It is this. Right, so this had another problem, and once again, I still thank those that helped last week with building this, but this had another problem. even though this does actually type out the code you want, the idea is this because we had the problem of it's always trying to find a capital letter, and it was looking through the list to try and find lowercase letters, which it can't because it tries to type in capitals for some reason. So we told it basically, look for it in, look for it in uppercase? Yeah, so basically, so it finds it in lowercase, which is what we wanted because we wanted it in letters. It searches through the list in uppercase, with the list being in uppercase, and then makes your seed based on it. We had 2 points wrong with this. The random generation was there for trying, when you use randomize, was trying to use the capital letters because it was using that list still. So I've had to update that to say, look for lower cases. And the other problem we were getting is because it's looking for something in the capital letter system, and it's actually a lowercase letter, it can't find it in the list. It's displaying it still because, like I say, it's looking through the list in capital form because it always looks for capitals. But because there's no capitals in the actual list, it's not actually putting it on the seed. So there wasn't, this bit here, it wasn't putting it on the seed. So the seed wasn't generating a number. So I've told it now, look for it in capitals. So it finds it and corrects it. So that's been fixed. The second point is now that we've now actually put our door choice out into its own independent code. I don't actually think I fully implemented this. Or did I? Yeah, actually, I think that was a part of our last bit of programming. So basically, it now uses parts of the seed. It uses the choosers that it can use and the ID to calculate which door it should be. So it's always going to be constant based on these parts of your seeds, with a little bit of randomization based on these two. So if you put in the same seed, you will always get the same dungeon now. And then we go on to our actual rooms. Each of our rooms, I'll put 7 minutes in a bit early. Each of our rooms now has an input. It looks for, I can't remember what A is. I don't remember what A is. I believe A will be the room ID. I should probably note that up there so I don't forget next time. So yeah, so it takes the ID, the current floor we're in, so that way every room should be different. Every floor should be different, so even the same rooms on the same floor, same room on 2 different floors should be different. Pats your seed again, and creates this random variable. And the value will, it just a little bit of random maths that I randomly slapped together. Looks at the value. If it's less than 0, because one of these could, once again, it could be, so it should be less than or equal to. Should it be less than or equal to? Because you got a room with no blood in it. Yeah, so I guess it's all right. I know why, because that's a minus there. You could get a really big number off it. So essentially, if it goes to a negative number, it times it by it. 0 would still be permitted in this situation. It just needs to be a 0 or positive number. It then takes this number, it takes off, it divides it out by the difference between the maximum amount of blood and the minimum amount of blood allowed per room, which I believe at the moment I've got set to 15 and 25. So it'll take 10 off it. That makes 10. Multiply by 10, so that gives you a number between 0 and 9. And then it adds on the minimum again. So in this situation here, it would be it would be modded by 10, so you get a number between 0 and 9. It adds on 15, so you can guarantee you're going to get a number between 15 and 24. And then if this particular part of the seed is above 15, and it has a value of 15 in the seed, then it adds 1 on it, so you can actually get 25 in the room. So that's now how the blood is now counted. Then we have this blood seed thing. This is really complicated. I might actually have to go to the room controller first so we can look at where this is implemented before I get onto that. So come all the way down to our blood spawn thing. Right, so as I say, it runs that blood spawn code, putting in the ID, and it gets a value out of it and runs a loop. Essentially what this loop's going to do is it's going to use this blood seed generator, putting in its ID, a good blood and a used blood. Just call it used because it was simple. And it runs, like I say, it runs this little bit of code. All right, I'll look at the code now. Blood seed. Now, once again, this is going to take parts of the seed. It's going to do random things with them. So it's essentially taking what's considered the used blood which is just like a counter of how many times this has been run. So you've got variations on it. So this one, you can't take it above 9. Well, we can never take it above 9, obviously, because it's needed to be 0 to 9 for most of my calculations. But you get things like, take it, just add 4 onto it, and then make sure it's less than 10. Add 1 onto it, and then multiply it by 2, and make sure it's less than 10. If f is ever equal to 0, then it adds 1 onto it. That was essential. That is an important thing, because I do know that the seed, if equals 0, 0, 0, 0, it was doing weird things, which was generating straight lines, which I was trying to avoid. Some other ones, which is a bit more complicated. It's just a really long calculation of like adding minuses and such. But this one is using a max value, so it's basically saying either with the comma there, whichever of this calculation or this calculation is higher, use that one. The only difference between the two is the -1, which means that if one of these becomes a negative, one will become a positive. So one will always be a positive and a negative, and therefore it will always use the positive number. And then that times it by the floor number, and then mods it by 10 again. It's at H, that's just another little bit of seed with a number added to it, and that's actually adding the good blood, which we'll get to. And then we've got this little array that's been made, 110. Now this piece of complex combination here, just look at this bit. This is essentially just generating a used number, which will become the C down the line. So as you can see there, variable 2 on this becomes this used number, which will then be imported back into the system. The used number obviously can't get higher than 10 because of that bit there. And then after a few bits, it can go above 10, but it brings it back down. So that number will be reused. It's kind of like trying to state to it, hey, I need you to keep choosing a different point in this number. So hopefully this number should come out between 1 and 10 over and over again, and just keep changing down the line so you don't know what it's going to be. Well, we won't know what it is, but the game will know it, and it should remain constant. It's based off of calculation rather than randomization. And then, of course, this mod 7 part is all about it making it less than 7, so 0 to 6, where it will use one of these little calculations. Now, these look weird and wonderful and complicated. They're not. Essentially, what this is doing, apart from on this one, which is slightly different, it's just saying, I want you to use those seed numbers, create a 0 value and a 1 value, which will always be less than 15. Those are basically going to be the coordinates on the grid room. So as I know, our rooms are 16 by 16 squares, so 0 to 15 by 0 to 15. So this is now using calculations to choose a square in that grid, rather than it just randomly saying, hey, 20% chance of each one flicking over. So now it picks one. So this one, I say it's slightly different because it's adding 1 back onto that used value. So that way, if you get onto this one, there's a slight chance it's going to push it just a little bit further over. Which takes us back into our calculation again, our spawning stuff. So from this then, it outputs that grid array of the X and Y coordinates and a used. It then sets the used back so it can be recycled back into it on the next loop. And it's going to keep doing this until the blood counter hits 0, obviously, because, it's said, we calculated on this thing here, make blood between 15 and 25. And what it'll do is the first step it does is it checks the spot it's trying to spawn in and finds out, is there a patch of blood already on the square? If there is, put the counter back up by 1 because it failed, and add 1 to this bad blood counter. And then it will recycle again, go around again, hopefully get a different calculation. And if there is nothing there, then it just adds the bit of blood in there. And plus 1 plus plus. Plus 1 plus plus. Oh, right, that is a counter. Right, yep, I added a counter in it, so it counts up how much blood it is. That's more for debugging at the moment. It will become relevant down the line when we start adding bonuses and such. And the final part of the new blood spawn system is simply, if this bad blood count, it's tried to spawn on top of itself 10 times in a row, it adds 1 to the good blood. The good blood then is put into the calculation for the squares, giving it another slight shift over, so hopefully giving it new squares, and resets the counter. So hopefully then it should cycle round enough that all 15 to 25 blood will come. But of course, since those minimum and maximum blood are now on variables, down the line we can change it based on the floor, which I might do it where if you get to a certain floor, then it takes part of your seed and then slightly adjusts that calculation. And then the final piece on here is simple. If that good blood value ever makes it to 50, it just ends itself. It stops counting. It stops trying to do this loop. It ends the blood count. It resets the I value. We don't want it to keep doing this anymore. This was mostly because when I first ran this up, and I was thinking, the shifting will allow it to move over slightly. I made a slight mistake in the calculations where the used value could keep becoming 0, which is why the used value has that +1 on it now every time it runs, so it guarantees it increases. What was it? I think I had it to the end or something. Blood seed. Yeah, see, so it does a calculation, then adds 1 onto it. Because the problem I was getting was, which is why this F value has this 0 thing, is the values that we were coming in were like becoming 0, and it kept setting the used value back to 0, so it kept running this first command over and over again. And I was getting chances where I'd run the debugger, I'd pause it almost immediately so that we could see how it was doing. And the good blood value was getting up to I think it was 39,000, and the game just wouldn't load because it kept trying to spawn on one spot over and over again and couldn't get off the spot. So, we added some slight shifts, and we basically told it, hey, if you ever get stuck in this problem again where you're trying to continuously spawn on one spot, or maybe you get stuck on a pattern of trying to spawn on 10 spots, 12 spots, whatever. If you do it too many times, stop, because clearly this calculation isn't going to work. And I might try and down the line add some kind of auto system where if it gets to that point where it has to do the good blood end, I might see if there's a way I can get this to send a message to me, or send it to an SQL database somewhere with seed in it, so that way I can look into it and see what's wrong with the seed. I've got a few drinks today. 3 different drinks for me today. Bit of sugar, caffeine, and some sweet. Right. So, today, now we've gone over what I covered was doing on all the different 1.3 versions to get the game up to working. We now have a working seed generator with a fixed amount of blood that spawns in a correct place. We will run the game up. I've still got the sound turned off. I forgot to put that back up when we ran up. And I need to update this because we're no longer doing 1.3.4. We're doing 1.4. So now, and that was, I already talked over this and how random letters weren't giving numbers, but they do now. So as you can see, we get these every time. I should have actually, we'll run up a seed. I'm just going to run up ice cream 01. Oh, right. You can't use the thing. Wait. Huh. The 1 key actually generates a letter, but yeah, you can't use the number keys. I learned that. 01. So as you can see, we've got this patch of 3 blood here. We've got this little thing here. And if we go back in and we type in the same seed, once again, the little pan's back and the line's back. So it now generates it correctly. Well, that's enough of that. We've covered everything we did in the 1.3 updates up to the current version. Now we're going to start working on the new things. Namely, we're going to be working on 1.4 version is, as we can see from our amazing notepad of destiny. I get to the first page. Boom. Can't see if you can read that. I mean, it's a bit bright. But 1.4 right there, right at the top. Furniture update. So then, yeah, you get a sneak peek. If you can read that, I can't really see if you can read that. There's your sneak peek on what updates are coming and what order they're coming in. That's my roadmap. It is on the itch.io page now to state this is the order I'm going to be going through these updates. So you can use that to calculate a weekend that you may or may not want to watch. I mean, the time attack one shouldn't take me too long. Well, I say time attack. By time attack, that's my note version of saying different modes. So we could have an endless mode, a timer, see how far you can get in 10 minutes. Well, that'll be your time attack mode, a timed version of the regular mode of how long it takes you to, say, complete 10 floors. And then obviously the endless mode. I'm actually going to put that more within reach. I've actually got 4 drinks because I thought I had that one. I want to get rid of that one first. It's made from soda. So, furniture update. We can minimize that. First things first, we're going to need to create a new folder, create group, which we're just going to call furniture. So all of our furniture bits come into place. And surprisingly, for this, as preemptive, I actually already have made a single piece of furniture. Yes, I made a table. This table is a 4x3, 4x3. And that shall do as our first piece of furniture. Say, look at its awesome graphics. Yes. And of course, this then needs to have another folder up here. Create. Create group. Oh, it's got a character group. We're also going to call furniture. I actually want to put that in the dungeon stuff rather than that because it is a dungeon thing. All right, so into furniture, we are going to create our first new object. Sprite. Furniture. Oh, we didn't name the actual table. Sprites. You need to give them names so it's easy to find things. Rename. Sprite underscore table. Cool. And this will also be known as object underscore table. Cool. So that's our table. It's an object now. It can be spawned. Right. So what we need to minimizing the wrong bloody bits again. So what we need from here now is we need to find a way to have the dungeon, which will probably be a new script in the calculations, determine where to put the furniture based off a random part of the seed again. So it's going to be another one of these random little calculations, say yes, no, maybe. Now, what this is going to end up doing is it's going to not just be randomly put it somewhere in the room. A lot of this furniture is going to be predetermined in such a way, like, how do I put this? So it's not like, room 1 is going to have it in the top left, room 2 won't have one, room 3 will be bottom right. The seed will choose whether or not you will or won't have the table. By the predetermined part, I mean as in, it will only have set locations it can spawn. It's like going to be the top left, bottom left, middle, and that is it. And only one table per room could spawn, or if it rolls a certain thing, then it spawns it in 2 locations, like a dining room kind of setup. So we can have a better control of where objects are. So we need to come up with a calculator that will be very similar to this blood seed, but a little bit easier. Well, it won't. It'll actually be almost identical. So we might as well just copy this and then change the numbers slightly so that way it works. And then we just tell it, hey, rather than do a calculation to work out where I want the table to go, you're just doing a calculation to work out which version of the table to put in. Do you want to go with, calculations 1 to 10, which might not have anything in it, so you get like so many chance that it's blank, or do you want it to be go into one of these slots? And then it returns it and says, hey, spawn something here. Technically, we could actually have the seed, rather than return values, the calculator return value, just tell it to spawn the tables, which will be a lot easier, which we may or may not do, which means then having to have a lot of scripts. Well, we're going to have a lot of scripts either way, because we've got multiple things. But this will lead on to some other things. Obviously, the table needs to be in first, because it's the first thing I designed. And this is going to be our way of testing can we choose where things are going to be spawning? First thing. Can we get it to spawn in the set locations based off the seed? After that, we're going to move on to, once it can spawn, it's going to be blocking the player from moving into it, which, that's really simple. That's just adding a new bit of code into the actual character itself, which we could do just now, I guess. But, I'm not going to actually do it now because we actually have to look into, look. If the direction, or if instance is placed in that direction. Oh, am I going to have to do $v, $h, sync, and I see it's simple as well. Yeah, so it's just adding another section onto this of saying, hey, as long as the object isn't located in this, then it shouldn't let me walk into it, I think that's how I've got it set. Yeah, because there's only one mention of each thing. So it should stop it, because, it's basically your X value, your Y value, minus either a plus, that would be a 1 or a 0, and it's the tile size. So just putting in one more like these lines in to say, hey, make sure this, put in right now. Let's put it in now. Let's put it in now whilst we can. Whilst I'm looking at it. So essentially, all we have to do is do that, place that, make sure there's a space between that and that. And we just change that to object table. There we go. Now the player can't walk into the table. It denies their ability to move. This is one of the reasons why we need to kind of predetermine where the furniture can go, because I don't want the dungeon to ever get to a point where, say, it spawns a bunch of tables around the outside and there'd be a solid gap in the middle which the player can't physically get to. The player has to be able to get to every square that there is potentially blood. So, back from my list of things that is going to happen, we're going to figure out how to get the table to spawn, which is, I think, is just copy paste that and change some numbers. Next up, we've already got the table blocking players. Then we need it to get it to check itself for blood. So that's a new bit of code that will go in the table, just basically saying, hey, there's a table here. Can't have blood here anymore because the table. But unlike the stairs deletes the blood. The stairs and the wall surrounding it deletes the blood straight away. I'm thinking for this table command, I might have it try and push that blood out and spawn it around the outside. Potentially. They'll have a limited amount of blood to do that because basically if I tell it to delete, well, if it spawns, I don't know, what's 4x3, 12. If it spawns 12 blood under it, and I tell it, hey, I need you to check the outside edges for blood, well, outside of that would be, what, a 4 would be 6, 6, and the 3, 3. So 66, 18. 18 squares. Technically, it could spawn it. It could spawn 12 blood and 18 squares. It's going to start getting a bit complicated. Especially if there's other blood there and it runs out. So, we'll see. We'll get to it. That's a bridge we will cross when we get to it. Trying to get the blood to be pushed out so that you still get the amount of blood you're supposed to have. So once the table's in, it spawns its blood elsewhere. That should be it. That should be a furniture piece is good to go. And then we can start looking into other things like, can the table now spawn some chairs? And then we'll add some chairs. I also want to add a rug. The rug will be a lot simpler than the table because that is walkable. We can walk over that and it doesn't need to push the blood off it. But we do need to add a new layer to our dungeon so we can have a carpet there. So, enough talking, more programming. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. And we're going to call this the table seed. And we're going to add a table seed. Okay, so this needs to change slightly. Mostly this bit here. Because this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter anymore. I mean, obviously, we still need to get this C value in the end, but we don't need to input this anymore. We do want the room ID, though. So I'm actually going to remove that. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to drop all these down. B, C, D, D again, E, and F. Right, is the floor variable in any of those? No. See, so F, and then I'm just going to then add, well, I need to remix some of these numbers. The floor variable isn't there, it's there. Because we do want the floor to come in at some point, so that way 2 floors are never the same. So, don't need a G for the floor. Here's a max. Oh no, it's those 2 times a max, so the floor is in there. So the floor should take account. We don't need this anymore. Oh, actually, let's change that to 0. Right, and then we want to change all these ifs. So I'm just going to do a control F, should I say? And if 0 space underscore, that's all them. I want you to replace them with if space underscore value. And then we should replace all. Going from there, replace all. Why is it not replacing them? Replace all. So what's gone wrong with the Control F command there? Let's try that again, shall we? If underscore C, if space underscore C. If space underscore C. I think it's section only. Maybe it's not section only. If underscore val. Oh, sorry. If space underscore val. Replace all. There we go. Hopefully I only did it on that, and so we can soon find out. We'll just check this. Yep, it's fine. Cool. Cool. So that makes some of this a little bit easier. Obviously, I need to delete all of these because these don't do anything anymore. I could just leave this as a blank like this, but essentially this will... I guess it won't matter in the end because you're going to have... I can just then come in and say replace table and then recalculate this top bit. Right then, so now we need to come up with a way to calculate this value number. Right, so what we're going to do is, for value, we're going to say underscore val becomes equal to... Oh, right, we also need to change the top bit as well, because that's just a blood calculation all over again. So I'm going to say underscore C, that's not a thing anymore, so I'm just going to set you straight to 5. SO5, you can be... You know what? You can just be the room's ID, mod 10. And that'll find out what part of the seed again. So that should be random every time now. I'll do another one again here. I'm going to say part 1 of the seed plus on... Oh, no, wait. It's not part 1 of the seed. Yeah, global point SO part 1 of the seed, whatever that number is, mod 10. Yeah. So it's using a part of the seed to work out what part of the seed to use. But I want to plus on the ID as well. No, it's A. So that's a positive, that's a positive. They should all be positives. If D is ever equal to 0, it shouldn't be because they're both positive. Well, yeah, because that's always going to be a positive number. It has to be at least a 1. Oh, but it could be a 0 overall because it could mod it to a 0. Yeah, so we'll keep that bit in. Oh, just keeping an eye on my chats and such. I really should bring up the YouTube chat because that sometimes breaks. You. And bring up view my channel. View me. Ah! I wish I'd really start in silent mode. So that should hopefully... Oh, see, I've already missed 2 messages because it doesn't come up. It doesn't come up on... Oh, I didn't even have multi-chat up on my Twitch. See, yeah, see, it's not even coming up on the main channel. It's not displaying it on the video. So I apologise to you, MP Hacks. This is live. This is completely live. There is nothing on. Like I say, I've just got a problem with the chat. I've been having this problem for a while, so I apologise, especially if you've already left. I have got the YouTube chat up now. I can see it. I've forgotten to move it because I forgot multi-stream chat doesn't work properly. It's a problem with OBS. Well, Streamlabs, OBS, whatever. Anyway, so chat's now sorted. I can see them both. So I do apologise. Right then, so let's have a look. Oh, you're calculating E. So I'm going to lower all these then. We'll say B C, A, D. Yeah. BCAD. That looks all right. Once again, just completely anything random, so I can't tell what it's going to end up being. F will just be SO2 plus whatever B is. Underscore B. Well, that could be... Yeah, because these numbers are allowed to get stupidly big. I think, yes, because they're only modded because they're having to choose a part of the seed. So that's good. Okay, so now we have to come up with a random mathematical equation that has these letters in. That all equals val. So val, I'm going to have straight away equal to... We'll say underscore C times underscore F. We'll go with that to start with. Okay, so once those two are times together, then... Oh, don't want the news channel popping up. Then I'm going to mod that by underscore A. Right, so that's the start. So multiply two together and then mod it by this. So we're going to get a bit of a shifting scale here to start with. Okay, so whatever comes out of this then, val, I want you to now equal yourself plus on, we haven't had underscore D yet, so we'll underscore D. And then I want to... Should we div it? We'll div it by underscore B. Now, because that could equal a 0, and I don't really want 0 coming out most of the time. So we'll take them. We'll actually minus off underscore B. So what's that leave us? We've got A, B, C, D. We haven't got E. Okay, so we'll want minus by underscore E. If underscore val is less than or equal to 0. Well, we'll just say less than 0. Then underscore val times equals minus 1. So that way we always get a positive number or we get a 0. Got all the letters A, B, C, D, E. A, B, C, D, E, F. Yep, that's all of them. Cool. Cool. Right then, so what could this number actually end up equaling? That's the last stage. Almost. See, it almost got me. Val, or underscore val, now becomes equal to underscore val mod number. So I'm going to say 10 for now. Space 10. So that should only now output a number between 0 and 10. 0 and 9, should I say. So that gives us out an output here, 0 to 9. Now, we have to come up with some ratios here, how often we want them to come out. So we'll start off with 0. If it ever comes out as 0, spawn one tail. We'll say top right, bottom right, boom, boom. That's 4, 5 for the middle. 2, 6, 7. Wait, no, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I guess we could go for one for all 4. 7. So that's actually 6 entries. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't need to return the value. Yeah, that looks all right to me. We can make that work. Right then, so based on this spawn, and this is going to be coming from the room controller, which is in the center of the room. So that means it's got 8 blocks either side of it. So I'm going to bring the calculator up. I can do all this in my head. It's easier if I use a calculator, because then it shows I am correct in case I mess up. Why can't I grab you? Oh, because the top calculator's up there. Right, so blocks 16 wide. obviously half the room. Why did I divide by 8? So obviously my maths was totally wrong. 8. So it is 8 blocks. Oh, no, times by 64, so that's how far over it needs to go. 512. So, I'm not going to... No, actually, I'm going to make it 7. So it can still have a 1 block rim around it, around the outside. Yeah. So 48. So, instance underscore create on layer. Oh, we need to make a layer for this. Let's actually go to the dungeon. Where's my dungeon? Right, so I want you stuff. What's on the stuff layer? Don't remember what's on the stuff layer. Do we even have anything spawning on stuff? There's a way to do a mass search for the entire script, if I remember right. Everything. Search and replace. Look for the word stuff. Find all. Ah, okay. So that's where the shop and the sink. Yes, the stuff layer. Cool. We can use stuff layer. Even though there's. Oh, that's for the page for the shop. So we've got stuff, and I'm actually going to add a new layer as well here straight away. Instances layer that we're going to call rename carpet. We're going to save that for later. So we want stuff to spawn on the stuff layer. Cool. Stuff layer. Oh. Oh god. X, Y, stuff. And that needs to be in brackets. Right. Now, I know that's going to spawn it on the start and not always dead, but I'm just trying to get the base one done first. I want it to spawn object underscore table, double A, and I don't need any variables on it. So that is where the table will basically spawn. Right, so what was our calculator say? 448. So minus 448 and also minus 448. So that should be the top left. If it rolls a 2, spawn 1 in the top right. So that's plus. Wait, no, because that won't be right. That will not be right in the slightest. Because it's not adding 7 blocks on this time. It's only adding 3 because the table is 4 blocks wide. So 3, I know this is 198 times 64. Oh, 192, I was close. Where did I get 198 from? Plus 192, so that should spawn it 3 blocks over, and then the table's 4, so that's the full thing. Cool. So that's the top 2. I can delete that extra layer. Right, next up, we need another one. This is going to be bottom left. So that needs to stay 148. This needs to go down 4 blocks, which is 256. I know that one off the top of my head. That should be, yeah. And then the next one is 256. 6, and this one will be 192. Check the chats again. Yeah, we're good. So we've got that. Next up, I should have a little thing on it that says live. I am actually live. Maybe we can make a little icon up in the top corner or something. I'm going to quickly add that so that way people don't have to ask me. New text we couldn't call live. Add. This is simply going to say live. Actually, I'm going to put that in capitals. Live. Arial. Ugh. Why do I want an Arial? No. Oh, is it being weird in the alphabetization? R is before S. Yes, it is. It's being weird with the alphabet. LMNOPQ. I know you're on here. Ravy. There we go. And I want you in, of course, We want you in royal purple. Hope that's easy to see. Get a little bit bigger. There we go. I can read it now, so you guys should be able to read it. Okay, so the next one. So we got 4 corners. The next one I said I wanted was the center of the room. So we'll spawn another one. Right, so if this is in the center of the room, it needs to go over 2 blocks, which is 128. And you come up a block and a half. So 64 plus 32 is 96. Yeah, 96. Right, so that's the center of the room. So 4 corners, center. Then I wanted left and right, and then wanted all 4 at once. So we'll do the all 4 at once, because I don't have to do any kind of maths for that. It's just simple copy paste these. The 4th one. Cool. I should note these as well. Top left. I'm still in caps lock mode. Top right. Bottom left. Bottom right. Center. 4 corners. And the next one should be our final one. I want this to spawn 2 tables. So what I need the 196 again, because I want it about half, not 196, I need 96 because I want it to spawn, central to the central line, but I need it on the left and right side. So that's what, 448 and 256. 448, 256. That should actually be a plus. They should all be pluses. I've not been changing symbols throughout this. Yeah, if it's a lower number, wait, no, that's correct. That's correct. 192, 256, 256, 192. That's all correct. I just got a message on my Facebook. I've not seen that. There you go.